Welcome to Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, and relationships create that tapestry of extraordinary experience, people. So it's definitely my pleasure today to get into episode 4 today. And in episode 4, we're going to be talking about how the brotherhood is missing. Indeed, we are. Now, in this particular episode, many of you could probably attest to, just different places and things that men have traditionally been able to go to. Once upon a time, how men stood together, brothers, fathers, mentors, in a circle of strength to help them get through the daily issues, the stress and things that they have, whether it be the barbershop or in somebody's backyard or working in their shop. Many men stood together, but today, many men stand alone in silence, louder than ever before. So, when we're looking at this, I want us to take into consideration what brotherhood used to mean. And growing up back in the day, I can tell you that there were times where the men and the women, they separated from each other. When they go into the house, men would go to, outside or on the porch hang out. The women would, they're normally were in the house talking, gossiping, just doing things that women do. But people and families were together. But it makes me wonder, were men a lot more stressed back then than what they are today at the time of this video in 2025? That is a good question. But men gathered, in churches, but not as many men go to church anymore. That's a whole nother episode for a different day there. Sports fields, many men still go to sports fields now, to the games together, hang out, drink beer, just kind of do their thing, and not really seeing much of that in neighborhoods. Maybe one or two people maybe go to somebody's house and hang out. But those were things that men did in past generations, and the young men actually went together to hang out. If it was a young man in the house with the women, the older man was pulling him out to come outside and have an adult conversation and learn what it's like, not only for manhood, but also brotherhood. But their wisdom was passed down. Those old men talked to the younger men asked the older men questions. The uncles were out there. Sometimes the one of the family members, like one of the ladies in the family, may bring a boyfriend by, and the family would grill him. The men would grill him, but the young men had guidance, and the older men had respect. But brotherhood was not an optional thing back then. It was survival. It was what was needed in order to ensure that that young man was on the right path to one day be able to create his family, marry somebody's daughter down the line. Those were the days, and those are the days that we need back so quickly. But what's vanishing about the brotherhood that we're not seeing is the day that many men are isolated. And there's many reasons why men are isolated, but competition has replaced community, because every so often technology, social media, and all these platforms have replaced physical communities into much more digital communities, because everybody is interconnected with just a at handle away. And I really want you to think about that. Why is that the case? Because pride blocks accountability. Think about this, people. Instead of men building together, men scroll alone as they look at their phone. They drink alone. They suffer alone. It doesn't have to be that way. Could the missing brotherhood be an opportunity for men to provide other men the tools, the resources, the advice that they need to get their mind right, stress levels down, and the ability to get the effective help that they need to become a better man than what they are? Think about that. I want you to think long and hard before you even place your comments down in the channel. I want to make sure that we understand that. And I began to see the vanishing of the Brotherhood, probably in the early to mid 2000s. Growing up, I remember being around older men and hearing them talk about their life stories. And when I say older men back in the day, like when I was a kid, they probably was in their late 40s, maybe early 50s per se. So they were old to me as a kid growing up. But just hearing them talk about certain things that were going on in life and then seeing them that they were, of course, most of them were married and people had their own home. People took pride in how they came outside. But the men and women took pride in how they came outside because the brothers checked the other brothers if they were doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. Older men checked younger men for wearing their pants down below their waist. The women, the mothers of the church, checked the young women if they came outside and something in or appropriate because they wasn't competing with nobody but people in the neighborhood. They wasn't competing with people online because we just didn't have the lifestyle of following somebody on social media than what we have today. We didn't see the videos like we're seeing right now today. Now, when we're looking at this, the price of the isolation that men are having to pay for today without a brotherhood is men bottle up what they can't carry. They put it's like we as men will put that in a bottle, we will store it up and we'll get kicked around, we'll get thrown around. And at some point, somebody's going to say something that's going to make that bottle drop. And glass starts going everywhere. And anybody standing around that's going to hear that sound, they get hit. They get hit with the different pieces of attitude that come out because they didn't have anybody to really relate to and talk to. I can remember sitting back talking to my great uncles about life and them sharing stories with me growing up as a young man. I was taught very, very early on what men should do and what men should not do. And we're missing a lot of that in society today. And two, a lot of men could be stressed out that the world is not going the way that it should be going right now because everybody has something to say. Everybody is offended by all but take accountability of nothing. This is probably why it could be a reason why a lot of men may feel isolated because now it started getting into your head. People are mentally messed up. Women, of course, I said on the last episode, are getting into relationships with people that they don't even know. The man's mind is messed up from all of that. But we have to really think about how the depression continues to deepen within a man's heart and his mind because he's on a whole nother thinking level right now of trying to protect everything that is within his domain. In my honest opinion, looking at this, and this is me honestly speaking, my thought process on this is I think that every man on this planet, if they could have their mental capacity, their mental thoughts, and their brain right, and they're not stressed out, I think that they can become not only better fathers, I think they can become better husbands. I think they can become better sons. I think they can become better stepsons or whatever the case may be. I really think that they can move a little bit different and they may be happier in their self. A lot of times men are stressed out because of the expectations of what they're seeing online is that what they're hearing is women want them to make six figures a year or make $500,000 a year. But in reality, that man just wants to be an electrician to start his business that he can pass down to his son. See, what many of you women don't understand is a lot of times men are going to be looking for opportunities that's going to allow them to be able to pass that down to their sons or to their daughters as part of their legacy. And they may want to, that they may take a average Joe job and may want to turn that into a business to provide for their family so that you don't have to work as hard as what you're working, so that they can move. But the expectations is the women are wanting them to be the VP of mergers and acquisition or be the VP of engineering, and that man may not even want that at all. Our expectations are twisted. But are we even talking about this before we even get with somebody? I would argue that people should not be leading with money and leading with titles. You cannot pass a job down to your son. Fellas, you cannot stress yourself out trying to figure out how to pass a job that you work for somebody else down to your child. If you're going to be stressed out about work, stress out about your own business and how your own business can provide for your family and who you're going to put next in line in the event if something happened to you. We're missing that because mistakes repeat because no one is there to correct them. So if the brotherhood is not there to protect the man against doing something stupid, he's going to do something stupid that's going to create more stress, that's going to jeopardize his whole meaning of what it is to be a man. But what men need is more mature and men with wisdom to check them when they need to be checked. If they see something out of line and out of order, it is the order of the brotherhood of men to correct that as they see fit. Because that's when the whole community was able to look at a little boy growing up. And if they saw something out of line, they're going to say something about it. When you take that brotherhood out, now that little boy has no wisdom to follow, has no guidance to follow, and it's like a blank slate, and he's just walking wherever he chooses to walk. And then people get upset later on down the line when he turns out the way that where they did not want him to be. We're missing this. We need this brotherhood back. And if we can bring this brotherhood back to help men become better versions of themselves, things begin to change. But that's the biggest difference. And even when you look at different shows, for example, if any of you looked at 227, you saw how Calvin was raised by his grandma Pearl, and she tried to do the best that she could with him. He was acting up, but then the moment that his father came home from the Air Force for the weekend to hang out with him, he then wanted to go around his father because he saw the fun, but his father said, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be times you're going to be alone, but you'll be able to get through it. And when you see the different not reality shows, but these sitcoms have these different scenes in them. 227, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Family Matters, Good Times. When you look at those old shows, even Sanford and Son, when you look at those old shows, you see a brotherhood of men that were looking out for the son. Think about when Lamont put Fred in the adult home because he was going on a cruise. Bubba was watching out for Lamont, right? And so in today's society, if the fathers are not there and the community is responsible for raising the kid, you don't know how they're going to turn out. Are they going to be more depressed than if they had a father in the house and being much more stable? And see, with the man and woman in the household, is going to bring stability. It should bring stability, but it's only going to bring the stability if both of their mentalities are on a stable platform. But the women are going to be more nurturing, the men are going to be more of disciplinary figure, but they have to work in a yin yang effect. One has to complement the other. If one is missing over here, the other one picks up the slack in the other place. And when you're looking at the men specifically, we're going to get into the women a little bit later on down the line, but I want to make sure that the men know that there are some of us out here who actually care about what you think about and what you're going through, because we don't want you to feel isolated. We don't want you to think that the brotherhood no longer exists. It may be missing, but it still exists. And it's only a matter of time when it actually comes back. Now, a man without brothers around him is a soldier without armor. Because when battles do come through, who is helping you fight those battles? Many times men will feel more comfortable talking to another man who may be a little bit higher on the totem pole career wise than them talking to their spouse. I'm just using that just as an example. And when you have that, when you have a man that's going to be providing you proper guidance, you should always be looking to somebody who may be a little bit older because they lived through a little bit of a different time, and they may be able to put some fat on your head. It's what the old school brothers used to, what the old heads used to call it. And even a person that's middle aged, say somebody in their 50s, can provide still a little bit of wisdom and oversight to a younger man that may be in his 20s. But what we have now that's slowly getting into the brain of young men is the type of entertainment and music that they listen to. Does that have an impact on their psyche? Does that have an impact on the potential for their brotherhood to take its roots up again? Because what man wants to be out here trying to fight a battle without soldiers or other soldiers around to help him get through that? It's almost like you're asking for it for yourself. Now, why the brotherhood matters now more than ever is brotherhoods will always build accountability, because you know what? You're slipping. Let me pull you back up. Let me make sure you're on the right path. You know what, brother? Don't do that. Or watch out for this. I've seen this before. This gonna get you into a lot of trouble. I would probably go over here and try this and not that. We try it this way and see what kind of results you get. And this is speaking to the young men out there from other men who may not be in their family. Just because the men in your family are there doesn't mean they're going to always provide you the best advice. You're kind of getting a good mix of different type of men around you that have a purpose in life, that knows what to look out for, and they're putting the knowledge and wisdom in the young man's head to help them move accordingly and through. But that brotherhood is going to build that strength, because guess what? You do not, under any circumstances, have to fight this fight alone. It's going to be brothers out there that are going to help you. They're going to help you move accordingly and through this. It may not even cost you anything but just your time and you actually paying attention and listening to people who have been through it. Many times, a lot of young men don't want to listen to the older people because they feel that the older people don't know what they're talking about. They don't experience life the same way. And even though the younger generation is much more technologically savvy, I will also say that they have a better chance of getting it wrong because they're so used and tied to technology on the hip that they can't critically think themselves out of a problem. But the older generation can critically think and use their hands to get themselves out of the problem, which makes perfect sense for the manhood and the brotherhood to take place and take root in that young man's mind and heart. This is a problem that we have with our young men out here today. We need the older brothers to get themselves together. See, it's nothing worse than a young man who is doing something for himself, seeing an older man who has never done anything. I am not under any circumstances saying that every older man has wisdom, because here's some things. There's some younger brothers that's helping putting some older men on game. But for the successful brothers that are out there, for example, if a young man is looking to open up a business as a carpenter, and there's an older man in the brotherhood at the barbershop who owns a construction business, then it is his duty to help guide that young man away from the problems he went through to kind of make sure he's on the right path, to be as a mentor professionally to help him move down the line so that he can himself as a young man can move his business acumen up. That is what I'm talking about with accountability and being able to have the brotherhood around for that. But brotherhood is going to always continuously build the legacy. If we can ever get that off the ground and running, that will continuously build that legacy. There are brothers who are good in law. There are brothers who are good in regards to politics. There are brothers who are good in technology. There is a place and a vertical for every aspect of that man's life. There's somebody out there to help him move along with that. But at first, we have to be able to talk to one another. And especially us Black men have to be willing to share information with other Black young men out there because we can't move this brotherhood on if we're not willing to share information. But I want you all to keep that in mind. So, looking at everything overall, a man can survive alone. He can. Men have always survived alone, but he cannot grow alone. You need somebody's help. You need other men out there to come and help you move accordingly and grow. And that brotherhood is more than a friendship. It's people that you can definitely talk to. It's people that helps you with a shield, the men that need to fight life's battles that are out there because you will go through battles, man. You can either go through that being stressed out, you can go through there with help of people to help you reduce that stress. And until we rebuild this whole brotherhood thing, too many men will keep fighting wars that could have been won together collectively in a brotherhood. So most definitely people listen, and like, listen, subscribe to the channel, Lifestyle by SK, where wine, cigars, and relationships create that tapestry of extraordinary experience. And look forward to bringing more content to you all soon.